Let's talk about the latest from Oculus, the Quest with FooVR's Will Smith. Acer Helios 300 gaming laptop, our pick for the best small TV, and more. All coming up on TekThing. A big thank you to our patrons, Gino M, Ordroid, Retro Arena, Jan R, and Yaden. Join the crew that makes TekThing possible at patreon.com/TekThing. Thanks.
I'm Shannon Morse.
And I'm Patrick Norton.
And this is TekThing, where we have something useful in every single show.
So we should explain right now, just in case, the biggest tech story of forever happened this week. Shannon's business, well, you're doing the business travel thing with Hack 5.
I am.
I'm probably scraping paint off of windows behind my house. And we'll talk about the biggest tech thing ever next week, as soon as we're both back.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Right now, though, do you currently have a VR rig in your house?
I do. I have the Dell Visor, and I've been playing Star Trek Bridge Crew on it, and that's pretty much all I do with the Visor.
If you're thinking you'd like to have a VR platform with more than one game, let us talk to my friend Will Smith, our friend Will Smith from FooVR. Last week at the 5th annual Oculus Kinect, conference, I guess, Oculus announced the Quest. No PC, no wires, no limits. The world's first all-in-one gaming system built for virtual reality, which seems to neatly ignore the Oculus Go, Lenovo Mirage, and other self-contained VR rigs, but there is no doubt that the Quest, formerly known as Santa Cruz, is a big step up from them in many ways. Joining us to talk Quest and a little bit of the state of the union on VR gear is Mr. Will Smith, host of FooVR's Foo Show, your basic interactive talk show in VR. And yes, Bill basically lives in your future, or mine. Welcome back, Will.
Hey, Patrick, thanks for having me. It's good to see you again.
Oh, thanks for being here. What's new at Foo? What do you guys have going on?
Well, we've released 5 episodes of the Foo Show now. We have interviewed people who make games inside their games. We've even talked to some scientists. I interviewed a pharmacological biophysicist who makes nanomachines out of DNA. And we did a whole Powers of 10 thing in that episode. So we started in his lab, human scale, and then we got progressively smaller and smaller and smaller until we finished the episode standing on the lipid layer of an E. coli cell, watching DNA be extruded from the cell so we could learn more about how nanomachines work. It's very cool.
An E. coli cell.
An E. coli is how you make structured DNA for nanomachine creation, among other things. And you can find all of those episodes on Steam right now if you search for the Foo Show.
Very cool. And it's should I search for Foo or FooVR?
Foo Show. The Foo Show is what you search for. FOO is how you spell Foo, it turns out.
Copy that. Well, let's talk about Quest, right? $400, inside-out tracking that works off of the visor, dual controllers. What about game availability? Are you excited about this? Is this a big step for VR?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not necessarily a big step for VR early adopters, but it's a huge step for the mass market because there's a couple of things that are important here. One is that you have 6 degrees of freedom for the headset tracking, which you've had before on things like Lenovo Mirage and a handful of standalone sets. But they haven't had trackable controllers with those earlier sets before. So if you want to see your hands, where your hands are in relation to your head in VR, and be able to walk around the space, Quest is an entirely new thing. The other big deal about this is that it has Oculus backing it. Oculus has spent millions of dollars developing software and bringing software to their platforms on PC and Gear and with Oculus Go. And they're presumably going to do that again with Quest. Yeah, this is the reason they bought Oculus, this standalone headset. And it's a pretty interesting piece of hardware. Like, looking at it on paper, there's no, like, they got most of it right in a way that it makes me excited about it as the way to get mainstream VR for people who don't want to buy a $700,000-$800,000 PC to get that experience.
They're back down. I mean, the GPU, you can get a 1080 or a 1070 for $500 or $700 now.
Well, so you can, but like, not everybody wants to have a giant desktop PC. And while you and I probably have laptops that can run mobile VR, it's not a great experience. You know, those big gaming laptops are loud or unwieldy or weigh 30 pounds or a pain just somewhere. Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah.
I was going to say, part of it for me that's really exciting is, one was like they demoed arena scale tracking with a Wild West game where it was kind of a free-for-all, a melee, a battleground environment. And the fact that, you're no longer tethered in a way that doesn't involve a sort of, homemade / third-party wireless system, but the thing is actually self-contained, and because it's got the inside sensors on the visor, they actually had a whole bunch of people interacting in a room. I mean, that's exciting to me.
It's going to open up new realms of both for both productivity and applications and for games, I think. If you look at something like big screen, imagine being at a conference where everybody puts their goggles on. This sounds like a horrible dystopia when I say it this way, but everybody puts their goggles on, and all of a sudden, instead of looking at a stage, 600 yards away, you're all looking at the shared projection of whatever thing you're talking about
Right.
over the space wherever it's most convenient for you. Like, there's a lot of opportunity for interesting, novel, both gameplay and productivity uses for something that's untethered and standalone.
So I was pretty excited when you look at the Quest specs, right? There's dual OLED displays. It's like 1600 by 1440 per eyeball. Are you worried about it running at 72 hertz rather than sort of the 90 hertz that's on the Rift?
So, we've seen other headsets that run at 70 hertz. We've seen headsets that run at 60 hertz and frame double. There's a bunch of ways around that. I trust at this point that Oculus is good enough and has enough data to know what's going to make people sick, to know what they can get away with, and to run this as low as they can. It's interesting to me that they chose a Snapdragon 835, which is at this point a fairly old system on a chip. The 845 is available. I think it's in the new Note, the brand new Note. But maybe they couldn't get that newer SoC in at the cost they wanted. I think the $400 price point is really important, and if they get the performance they need at $400, I think we're probably okay.
So when you look at this versus the Go, 6 degrees of freedom, which basically means, like, my big frustration with the Go is, like, I can do this, and I can't do any other motion tracking. And of course, the 2 controllers means your hands can come in the game. And it's obviously going to have a more powerful processor. Is the Go going to have, or I should say, is the Quest going to have access, do you think, to the Rift gaming stores, or are they going to have to pretty much build everything from scratch for it?
So if it's driven by an ARM processor, the Rift Gaming Store is all x86. So presumably people are going to at least have to recompile and update their software to re-release it on the Quest store. So the big difference for me for the Go and the Rift is that for most people, especially people who are sensitive to motion sickness and VR sickness, the Go is not going to be a great solution for you. One of the guys who works with me is really, really sensitive to that stuff, and he can't use the Go for more than a few minutes just because the 3DOF tracking. For me, the way they model neck movement and head movement is comfortable enough that I don't have a problem with it. But for him, his brain immediately says, "Oh, no thanks," and checks out. Having hands is a huge deal. When you go from having essentially what is a pointer, a cursor controller with a couple of clicky buttons, to having full articulated hands with the ability to grab things and 2 or 3 inputs on each hand, you go from having a situation where the verbs that are available to me as a person who makes games go from being things that you can map to a gamepad, like you do in every video game ever since Call of Duty and all the way back to Doom and Quake and those types of games, to being able to interact with the world in ways that involve, like, picking things up. Like, I can pick up a cup, I can throw that. Anything you can pick up, you can throw, you can hand it, you can toss it, you can juggle it, you can set it down, you can flip it over and put it upside down. And that having more verbs available to you as a game developer, as a game player, means that you can really go beyond what we've done in Call of Duty. So, a shooting game, you can rack the slide on your pistol. But even more interesting than that to me are the games that aren't necessarily shooting games. You can throw a frisbee. You can look. I've wanted to play lawn darts since the 70s, and the CPSC took them all away from us. You can play virtual lawn darts now. It's not quite as dangerous, but it's maybe as fun. I don't know. The possibilities with gameplay, and then also stuff like Tilt Brush and Quill and Medium, and the creativity tools. I've talked about this before, I think, but I'm bad at CAD because my brain doesn't do that four pane swap to a 3D object in my head. I have a really hard time with that. Mm-hmm. But if you put me in Medium, where I can just kind of lean my head from side to side and see exactly what the model looks like and then interact with it in 3D space, my brain knows how to interact with stuff in 3D because it's what I do every single day when I'm walking around the real world. If you open that up to people with a $400 device, that's incredibly exciting. I think we're going to see a lot of interesting applications and uses that, if we talk about this in a year after it's out, this is going to sound goofy because the stuff that people actually come up with to do with this thing is far surpasses my wildest expectations.
So A, you're bullish on it. If somebody's thinking about holiday shopping this year, they're looking at the Oculus Rift for $400. They're looking at maybe waiting until the Quest comes out. They're looking at the Go. I love the Mirage, but until they get more Daydream games onto that, it seems like the Mirage is kind of cool, but falling behind. How do you feel about the Rift and the Vive versus waiting for the Quest right now?
So, if you have a PC that can run a Vive or a Rift, the Vive or a Rift is going to be a better experience. Essentially, the Snapdragon 835 is going to give you graphics that are analogous to a last-gen console, like an Xbox 360 or a PS3, but running at a higher frame rate and times 2 because you have to do it for each eye. If you plug into a Rift or a Vive with a high-end graphics card, not even a 2080, not even an RTX card, just a 1070, 1080, you have a million games that are available. They're not all going to be brand new, so you'll get steep discounts on stuff that's been out for 2 or 3 years in some cases now. And there's a massive catalog there. So you buy a Rift, you can play stuff from Steam, you can play stuff from the Oculus Store, and you have a pretty good experience. You play stuff buy a Vive, you can do the same. It's a little bit more of a hassle to get stuff from the Oculus Store.
So, we've seen the HTC Pro, which is incredibly expensive and out of the reach of most people. Is there any sort of next generation or high resolution Rift that we see coming?
I mean, there's no doubt that Oculus is working on the second next gen hardware. They talked about some foveated rendering and stuff like that, which is where they have eye trackers that live inside the headset, actually track exactly what you're looking at, so they only render in high resolution the part of your eye that can detect that high resolution. So right now, when you put the headset on, it renders the entire scene at crazy high resolution, at the highest resolution that it can. With foveated rendering, it knows, I'm looking at this part of the screen right here, so this circle right here is what gets the high resolution treatment, and everything else is increasingly lower resolution, which mimics the way our eyes work. If you think about your peripheral vision, the resolution is way, way lower than that sweet spot right in the center of your field of view. And really, unless we're talking about ridiculous high-end setups, multiple 2080s and stuff like that, you're not going to be able to run 4K panels at 90 hertz inside a headset without doing some tricks like foveated rendering. And I say trick, but that's a trick that nobody will notice. It's the good kind of trick. It's a hack, not a trick. It saves massive amount of compute for something that doesn't decrease our perception at all.
So, is there anything coming that you're really excited about? Obviously, the Quest is coming. More games are coming. You're obviously comfortable with buying this holiday season, whether it's a Rift, or waiting for a Quest. What's next for VR for you? What's got you really excited?
Well, I mean, we make cartoons with VR, so I'm excited about the commercial stuff that your guys don't care about probably. But things like the Vive Pro are great for me because it has a 24-hour turn on the warranty, and I can set it up in a commercial install and just walk away and know that if they have problems, they don't have to call me; they can call somebody else. I mean, I think it's safe to assume that we're going to see a new Rift in the next year and a half. Probably announced at OC6 next fall would be my guess at the latest, maybe even in the spring. And probably see an updated Vive, some updated Vive SKUs that maybe increase the resolution a little bit. If you look at the Vive to the Vive Pro, it's an interesting jump because text isn't really readable unless you use some specific fonts and stuff like that with the stock Vive. But in the Vive Pro, I can set up a virtual desktop and do my desktop work with text at a resolution that's usable and comfortable and all that. So, it doesn't have to be a huge jump if you want to talk about getting into some more kind of business uses of VR. That said, we haven't really seen the software that justifies business investment in that kind of VR. So, maybe we're looking at stuff like the Quest. Maybe we're looking at next generation hardware before we see that.
I still got to say, my favorite thing about the Oculus Go was laying in bed and watching Netflix.
That's what everybody uses them for. It's you lay in bed, you load up Plex, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, and it seems like that's people maybe try out a couple of games at the beginning, but for the most part, you're watching The Good Place reruns on Netflix at 1:00 in the morning in bed. So don't disturb your spouse.
Just remember that those speakers on the Go are louder than you think they are.
Okay, I got a life hack for you here, Patrick.
Uh-oh.
You get a soft, squishy pillow. And you sink your head way back in it. and then the pillow cups the sound and blasts it right into your ears, and it just goes straight up the ceiling, doesn't bother your partner.
Ladies and gentlemen, Will Smith, Foo.VR is the website. Search on Steam for Foo. Where else should people be looking for you, Will?
I'm on Twitter at Will Smith, and I stream video games sometimes on Twitch at twitch.tv/notthatwillsmith.
Mr. Will Smith. Will, thank you so much.
Google just announced a slew of new products on Tuesday, and I've got 2 of those items on pre-order. I know you can probably guess which one of them is. So here is a quick summary in case you missed it. So first we have the new Google Home Hub, which goes on sale on October 22nd for $149 and will be available in teal, pink, white, and black. It's basically a Google Home with a 7-inch LCD screen and a redesigned look and feel, all the way down to how the apps like YouTube, Maps, Photos, and Calendar work. Of course, the Google Home Hub has Google's speech recognition built in with voice match, but it also comes with 6 months of YouTube premium content as well if you purchase one. Some features like ambient EQ, we've seen that in other devices, so it brightens and darkens depending on a room's lighting. Thoughtfully though, they did not include a camera on it, so you could put this in your bedroom, but keep in mind that it can still listen if that wake word is triggered. It works as an assistant as well as a photo frame, and the Home Hub filters out blurry or terrible photos using their machine learning. Next up was the Pixel Slate, a tablet starting at $599 and only available in midnight blue. Google says that this tablet has a perfectly balanced center of gravity and it weighs 1.6 pounds, so it's comfortable to hold and can last up to 10 hours. The screen on it is a 12.3-inch LCD display with 293 pixels per inch or 6 million pixels. The display is a custom, fancy mix of low-temperature polycrystal and silicon, which is supposed to give it a more vibrant, accurate color representation, but we're going to wait until we have one in our hands to actually determine that. They've included some nice specs too, like dual front-facing speakers, a power button that doubles as a fingerprint sensor, 8-megapixel cameras on both sides, and an aluminum body. It runs on Chrome OS, but that's also been updated, so you can not only use the Chrome OS apps that you're used to, but also full-power Linux applications and full-scale programs like Chrome for the desktop. Virus protection, automatic updates, the new Titan security chip are all included too. Now that $599 price point is for an Intel Celeron CPU, but you also have 3 other options up to an 8th gen Intel Core i7 CPU for $1599. Add to that their Pixel Slate keyboard, which was also announced, which requires no charging, it snaps into place on the tablet, and it has backlit Hush keys for $199, and their new Pixelbook pen for $99. You got almost $2,000 worth of equipment. It's a little pricey. Now lastly was the Pixel 3 and the Pixel 3 XL, and these phones look the same. They come in 3 different colors. There's just black, clearly white, and not pink. They are 5.5 inches and 6.3 inches respectively, and both have a bezel-less design, and yes, there is a notch. Everything you heard, all that gossip was true. There's a flexible OLED that you can squeeze on both sides to trigger the assistant. Front-facing stereo speakers, yay, I love those. And they come with 6 months of YouTube streaming service if you haven't purchased that already. They spent a bunch of time on the cameras, which feature HDR+, Top Shot, which takes a burst of photos and chooses the best one, Super Res Zoom for clear zoomed photos, and tons of new technology. The front-facing camera Duo, yes, I did say Duo, those allow for wide-angle group selfies, while Playground is another feature, and this one lets you add AR characters into your photos. Now, Google Assistant can screen calls, which honestly I think is one of the coolest things I've seen because no one enjoys getting scam calls at all, and the Titan security chip adds disk encryption and better security for login credentials and also system integrity, which are definitely pluses. There's still no headphone jack. Not that I'm bitter, but they do include earbuds in the box and wireless charging now. There's a $79 wireless charger. It's called the Pixel Stand. Also offers Qi charging for any other devices as well, and the phone starts at $799 for 64 gigs or $899 for the 128 gig option. And for the XL, it will cost $100 more for both of those sizes, and it ships on October 18th. I pre-ordered the Pixel 3 XL and the wireless charger, but I am curious which devices you would like to see on the show as well. So if you want me to do a camera shootout between the 2 and the 3, could totally do that. I could compare it to the OnePlus 6. Do you want us to review the Pixel Slate 2? We can do all of those. So let us know in the comments below or tweet me. I'm at Snubs, as I would love to share my experience using that phone with everyone watching.
We love your questions, your tips, and your suggestions of products and ideas to check out. You can tweet at TekThing, at Snubs, at Patrick Norton, or just email ask@tekthing.com. And a big shout out to our patrons at patreon.com/TekThing. You pay the bills, you make the show possible. Our thanks to you. Please join the crew that makes TekThing happen at patreon.com/TekThing.
We got a tweet from Brian, aka Billydjdog, who said, at TekThing, are there any quality non-smart 40 to 43 inch 1080 TVs still on the market? Looking to wall mount in an exercise room for an Xbox 360 Kinect fitness setup. Well, I can tell you right now, Brian, I am looking to upgrade so I could sell you mine. It's a 1080.
How old is that TV now?
It's pretty old. It's like 6 years old or something. I don't want a smart TV, so I still have it in my house.
It'll either run forever or it'll die a week after you get it.
It keeps on running, so I keep on keeping it.
So, okay, first thought, don't worry about 1080p versus 4K.
Okay.
Because pretty much the scaling on all the 4K TVs will do a fine job. It's basically just going to quadruple the number of 1080p pixels. As long as you're not like 3 feet from the monitor, you're not going to care. And if you're playing a video game, if you are 3 feet from the monitor, you're probably not going to care. And it's kind of fun. Everybody talks about big TVs, but talking about a small TV is kind of like, ooh, let's talk about a small TV. For all intents and purposes, if you're not spending $25,000 on a calibrated monitor for professional TV or movie production, there are no dumb TVs. Just buy one, set it to HDMI 1, and use whatever your favorite set-top box is, Roku, Apple TV, or get a TCL with Roku built in. But fundamentally, there are no dumb TVs anymore.
Smart TVs, get off my lawn.
You could get a projector.
Oh yeah, I could.
You know, the only reason there's no smart TV in my house is because there are no smart projectors. And now that I've said that, I'm sure everyone's going to take projectors to smart rules.
Yep.
What a horrifying thought. Easy pick for me, TCL's 43S517. It's a basic 4K HDR television. It's $350. It's supposed to have very good blacks, low input lag for the gaming. And that price is pretty reasonable. It's like $150 off MSRP on Amazon.
Nice.
Now, if you want to thoroughly nerd out on television testing, rtings.com, ratings.com, Robert Heron is in love with this website. They actually buy the TVs they test off the shelf. So they're not getting poached, pre-picked, tuned televisions from the manufacturers. Although I got to say, most manufacturers...
They're getting what the consumer is going to get.
Yeah. I mean, the truth is most of the manufacturers, in some cases, they do have a big television in an anvil case that they send from person to person to person because those televisions are really expensive. But in a lot of cases, you just get something that came out of a warehouse somewhere. But it is really cool that they are going out and grabbing their TVs off the shelf. And if you take a look at here, they actually are testing 40, 42, 43-inch televisions, which is super unusual.
That's great.
Most places just don't have the time or the motivation to actually test sets that small. By the way, if you can fit it in there, like a 55-inch P-Series Vizio or a TCL 6 Series will be a healthy upgrade, going to get you a brighter image, but it's also going to cost like $300 more.
Good to know.
That would be a good television for you if you just want to get you'd want like a 65-inch. That'd be about $1,000.
Yeah.
But that would get you 4K, decent HDR, and will cost a lot less than an OLED.
That's good to know.
But if you're going to sit on a television for 11 years, you might want to spring for the OLED.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good... Do I want to invest? I mean, now's a good time to invest because we have 4K and 4K is on the market and it's available.
Technology is never a good place to invest.
That's so true.
I don't believe that. But actually, it is not a bad time because there's finally starting to be 4K content.
Exactly.
But if you can wait out for another year, who knows what awesomeness will come out of
Don't
CES
tell me that. Now I'm going to wait until after CES.
You may as well. We're practically there. If you buy one now and something better comes out, you're going to be like, and then you're going to Craigslist it.
No, eBay.
eBay.
Well, let us know if you have any questions about what TVs to buy or what our recommendations would be. I know that Robert, as well as yourself, do a lot of research into this category, so I appreciate it too.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And projectors are awesome. I just want to say that.
It's true. The brand new Acer Helios 300 gaming notebook.
Sorry, I'm watching veins pop out on your forehead.
It just released in June, and it's currently available. You can check it out over on their website. The MSRP for the normal version is $1299.99. Now this version that I have today is the Helios 300 Special Edition, which was just released in the fall, and this one costs $100 more at $1399.99. And instead of the normalized black and red that you see on the previous models, this one is white and gold colored. And it also includes a set of earbuds, a mouse pad, and a matching mouse as well. So if you're all into that gold life, then you have everything that you want, and you can totally accessorize with this laptop.
And it's totally ready for Iron Man cosplay.
Yeah, it definitely is. It has a 15.6-inch Full HD 1920 by 1080 IPS screen with a 144 hertz refresh rate, and it also has 300 nits of brightness, which is plenty brightness for anybody. It's a nice big screen, really good viewing angles from right to left. It also has, unfortunately, a very, very large bezel. If you care about bezels, that is something to keep into consideration, but you do have your webcam up at the top, which I also really appreciate.
I'd say large bezels also protect the screen, which
That's
is
true.
nice.
Now on that though, the chassis with the screen does flex slightly. However, it's pretty sturdy once you set it to whatever height you want it to be and whatever angle you want it to be. So you're not going to see it like flop over or anything. It just does flex, so keep that in mind. And when I was playing games on this screen, I was getting a very steady 115 to 144 FPS frames per second whenever I was in those action scenes, and I tested that with Destiny 2 in particular. Now inside, and this is the fun part and why this thing is so interesting to me, is because it has an 8th gen Intel Core i7 8750H CPU, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1060 GPU with 6 gigs of dedicated memory, so it's not max Q, which means it's awesome, a 16 gig DDR4 of RAM, but you can upgrade that to 32 gigs of RAM, and a 256 gig PCIe NVMe SSD. Now 256 is not very big for games. That's like, I mean, Destiny 2 is 70 gigs just by itself. So you'll probably want to upgrade that. Yeah, so keep that in mind. They also included wireless AC, Bluetooth 5.0, not 4.0, which is pretty cool. And yes, I agree, it is jam-packed with pretty excellent specs. And yes, like I said, you can upgrade the memory, but you can also upgrade the storage too via 2 different compartments on the bottom that can be opened with just a few screws, and you just pop in your new NVMe PCI SSD storage and your RAM. So yay, I like being able to upgrade things. It's excellent. Now with this configuration, I got about 4087 as my score in TimeSpy 3D Mark tests. This is well over that 2400 score that I got in the recent review of the Dell XPS 15, and it really shows the strength of these specs for a machine that's slightly over $1,000 at $1,400 without tax. Now the battery on this though, it could be better. It's 3220 milliamp per hour battery. It's claimed to last up to 7 hours. However, if you are playing a bunch of video games, that drops to around 5 hours. So you're only going to get about 5 hours out of this baby.
As soon as you start running the 1060 on this, basically the battery life drops.
Yeah, it just goes bye. Now looking at the machine, you'll notice that it is rather plasticky all around, except for the lid, which you'll notice is metal, as well as the keyboard chassis, which is also metal. Everything else on this is pretty much plastic. I like the white gold, or I like the white with the gold accenting. I think it's really pretty. It's something different. It's very unique. You don't see that in a lot of laptops. However, it does weigh 5.51 pounds, which honestly feels pretty heavy, and it is pretty large.
Well, if you're used to like a 2.5 or 3 pound laptop,
yeah,
it seems like a beast.
Yes.
It also won't fit in. For example, like I may have one pack that will fit into. Like I would have to buy a new it's like I have a big like giant travel backpack that I would fit into, like a 34-liter pack.
And just in case you are wondering, if this doesn't feel heavy enough for you, the power brick will.
With great power comes a great big power supply.
Yeah, so it's not the thinnest gaming laptop that I've seen, and it's also not the lightest weight. It's 1.1 inches thick, which is still pretty within the average range of gaming laptops at this price point. If you move up to $2,000 for a gaming laptop, you get sub 5 pounds and sub 1 inch thick laptops for comparison. So what you're paying for here, you do lose out on a little bit of that lighter weight and a little bit of that less size that you get in this gaming laptop. Now the keyboard is backlit, and the gaming keys, the W, A, S, and D, are outlined in gold to stand out. It's also got a number pad and media control function keys too, which I really appreciate. I really like having a number pad. I use it all the time, and I don't notice how much I miss it until I get one back, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I wish I had this every single day.
Keyboard feel good to your hands, or?
Yeah, the keyboard felt pretty good. When I was typing, the keyboard has pretty good tactile feedback. It's a little bit more springy than the Dell, the Alienware, or the Razer models that I've currently been typing on. So it took a little bit of getting used to, but I liked it. It was very easy for me to pick up and very easy for me to get used to. Also, the touchpad on this thing is large. It's a precision touchpad with multi-finger support. I felt that it got the job done, but it's not as smooth as a soft glass touchpad is, because this one also feels plasticky. There are two different speakers. They're on the bottom part of it. They are downward facing, so they do get somewhat muffled, but they are loud. Really, really loud. And speaking of loudness, you're probably wondering about the fans too. The back includes dual fan systems where the 0.1 millimeter thin fans push air in and then push air out. You can also control airflow via the Predator Sense software that's built into these laptops. And I would say it does not get loud at all during gameplay. It was quite surprising. And
so like 1080p, 1060,
yeah,
maxed out.
Yep.
You didn't have a giant
like
screaming fan?
Destiny 2, no. There's a subtle spike in the decibels, but it is nothing compared to my Razer during gameplay, which basically sounds like a jet engine, and he will relate. Yeah, everybody can hear the jet engine. It's terrible.
Well, you start rendering, or you start playing a game, and everybody's head pops up, and they realize
they're like, "What's wrong with your laptop?" And I'm like, "Don't worry, guys. I'm just rendering."
Perfectly
like,
normal.
Okay. As far as the ports go, it features a Kensington lock, an RJ45 port for Ethernet, one USB 3.1 Type-C, HDMI 2.0 with HDCP support. There is one Type 3.0 USB, an SD card slot. Yay! There's also a headphone port. Yay! There's two USB 2.0s, and of course, the power port as well, because you can't survive without the power port. So overall, I would say its best feature is absolutely those high-end specs, the GPU, the CPU, the max RAM. I mean, 32 gigs of RAM in this baby, which is really nice, and I love that you can upgrade it. The display is not bad at all. Did not get me excited. It's average. The battery left much to be desired, as did the mostly plasticky chassis. This is a great option, though, if you want to break into that sub 2K category, but you don't want to go under 1,000. This is a good mix of both of those categories, kind of stuck into both. You get the awesome specs, but the body is not as quality as you would expect with 2,000.
On moving pixels.
They spent the money on the specs on the inside of this baby. So
and
that
the
is
gold
what.
paint.
And the gold paint, yeah. But I like the special edition. I thought it was really pretty, and I like that it came with the matching peripherals too. However, you'd probably want to replace the mouse with a gaming mouse, to be honest.
Well, that seems reasonable.
Just saying.
And a gaming keyboard.
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. I mean, who's going to play games with the keyboard and the trackpad? I test it, but I definitely use a mechanical keyboard and a gaming mouse.
I'm actually okay with most gaming laptops. I do have trouble with them when the well, actually flip that open.
Oh, flip it open. Okay.
The biggest challenge for me is actually not so much the mouse pad, but the fact that the keys are often offset.
Oh,
on
they're
the keyboard.
shifted.
For regular work. For gaming, I can do it just fine, but for regular working, I always find that whole, like, the center of the screen is here, but my hands are over here to be kind of
And that is when
off.
an external keyboard is very, very useful.
For work, though, not
Yes.
for the gaming.
So let me know what you think. I thought it was a really nice machine. I'm really happy that I got to check it out. If you have any other questions about gaming laptops, or if you want me to review any specific one out there, ask at TekThing.com, or you can tweet me at Snubs.
A big thank you to Hack5 for the studio space. That's where we shoot TekThing in Hack5 Studio, and we are grateful. Do us a favor, check out the Security and Privacy Podcast at hack5.org, and then when you're ready to upgrade your game or get your pen testing on, or just figure out what's going on in your network, go over to hack5.org/gear. You'll find some superior pen testing and USB automation tools. Thanks, Hack5. And remember, once in a while, put down the phone, step away from the screen, close the laptop, and do something analog, like maintenance on your car, especially the cabin air filter in your car.
Good point.
I had no idea the car had a cabin air filter, and it shows, as you see in this picture. That terrible mungy gray is probably supposed to be white.
Ew.
Yeah.
Gross.
Hey, the HVAC, much stronger. It's like when you vacuum the cat from outside of your PC and all of a sudden it's like running 10 degrees cooler and maybe overclocks higher. Turns out if you don't have like 4 pounds of Oregon desert dust in your cabin filter, you get a lot more air conditioning a lot faster. I'm just saying.
Good to know.
You might want to look in the manual because every so often you find out there's a filter you never knew existed.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That would be a thing.
Vatter Norton.
I'm Shannon Morris.
We'll see you next week on TekThing.
So I discovered this weekend that if I wash my car, it rains in the Bay Area 2 days later.
True. My neighbor, for them, it's the afternoon after they wash their car.
No!
Actually, no, when they wax their
I was
car.
glad that I had 2 days of a clean car before it rained.
It's still clean.
But
it's just got those little drippy marks.
We really needed rain, so you're welcome, Bay Area.
Well, it's the rainy. It is the rainy season. I should point out. We don't get rain for like 7 months.
Yeah, we haven't gotten rain in months. And
But
it's
that's the weather pattern here.
Yeah.
It's the Central Valley of California, the Bay Area, and the African Savannah are basically have the same weather pattern. It's like 6 or 7 months of searing the brown season, and then it rains for 3 months and everything turns green. Which still, after 20 years out here, confuses me because it's December and the hills are green.
Yeah,
And then
it's
you get
very
to
odd.
June and the hills are brown because everything's dead.
It's weird.
It's California. Word.
Good old California.
Well, there are many Californias.